Good morning and welcome to another Corona-free version of Connect Time. I'm Joe Pacheco.
And I'm Javon Pacheco.
And we're here to give you the good word.
Okay.
All right, guys. So over the past couple weeks, we've been talking about atypical families, how no family is really normal. Example A. But we're going to continue on and talking about how atypical families have made a pretty big impact and how God uses these atypical families. Today we're actually going to be talking a lot about tough conversations. Every family has tough conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you say tough conversations happen a lot in our house?
Oh, yeah, they do. They do a lot.
Like when?
Good example was when I fractured my foot during wrestling season and missed my wrestling season this year. And and I was took my time, and I thought I had time, really. I was playing around when I really don't have time because I'm going to be a senior next year. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really tough moment when you think you have more time than you actually do. And no one could have expected a broken foot to cut his season short. So only wrestling for 3.5 seasons. Fingers crossed he doesn't get hurt next season. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. And that's a really tough conversation we had to cross at that point in time. So let's talk a little bit more about how tough conversations happen on a regular basis, right? So, like we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, every family is an atypical family because no family is perfect. And because no family is perfect, every family occasionally has to have a tough conversation. Maybe those tough conversations happen because of a difference of opinion, an unwise choice someone made, hurt feelings, or misunderstanding that needs to be addressed. Typical families either avoid having these conversations or they have them, but it doesn't go very well. Atypical families, on the other hand, approach their tough family conflicts and conversations differently. For the last couple of weeks, we've been saying how that your atypical family can be used by God to do amazing atypical things in the world. But how? Last week we talked about how atypical families pray for each other during their conflict, and today we'll discover the second thing atypical families do. So we're going to jump right into Genesis 25, handy dandy Bible app.
Coming right up. Here you go.
All right, so we're going to go right straight to 21. Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was unable to have children, and the Lord answered Isaac's prayers, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins. But the two children struggled with each other in their womb. So she went and asked the Lord about why I think this is happening, she asked. And the Lord told her, "The sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and the older son will serve the younger son." And when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she did give birth and did indeed have twins. The first was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like fur. So she named that one Esau. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. As the twins grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsman, and Jacob had a quiet temperament, preferring to stay at home. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day, when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau arrived home from the wilderness exhausted and hungry. Esau said to Jacob, "I'm starving. Give me some of that red stew." "All right," Jacob replied, "but trade me the rights as the firstborn son." "Look, I'm dying of starvation," said Esau. What good is my birthright to me now?" But Jacob said, "First you must swear that your birthright is mine." So Esau swore the oath, thereby selling his rights as a firstborn son to his brother Jacob. When Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentil stew, Esau ate the meal, then got up and left. He showed contentment for his rights as firstborn. So as far as in this series, we've met two families, Adam and Eve, and the world's first family, actually, and the family of Abraham. Both of those families are atypical and imperfect in their own ways. Disobedient to God, lies, murder, conflict, and disagreements made the story of these families far from perfect. Today, I'm going to introduce you to this family here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about their trials and tribulations. Now we're going to go to another part of this story. This is going to be in Genesis 32. But that's not the end of Jacob and Esau's story. Years later, Jacob was married and has children of his own, but hasn't spoken to Esau since the day he ran away. And now he's on his way to Esau City. Knowing that Esau has every reason to hate, maybe even kill him, Jacob sends a messenger to Esau with plenty of gifts, hoping it will show Esau that he's sorry. If we go to Genesis 33, 4 to 12, I've had some tough conversations with my family before, but nothing like the conversation Jacob and Esau are having or about to have. Excuse me. Jacob knows he needs to make things right with his brother Esau, but who knows what Esau could be thinking. When conflict happens, when conflict does happen, but you're too stubborn and angry or ashamed or afraid to have tough conversations with your family, it leaves a room for some ugly things to grow. After years of silence, Esau might hate Jacob. He might even want him dead. So go ahead and read chapter. Where's the?
How about it?
You had one job.
I didn't know if you wanted me to do it.
One job, guys. It's one job. 33.
Okay, because I went to it already. 4 to 12?
Yep.
Okay. Then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him, threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they both wept. Then Esau looked at the women and children and asked, "Who are these people with you?" "These are the children God has graciously given to me, your servant," Jacob replied. Then the servant wives came forward with their children and bowed before him. Next came Leah with her children, and they bowed before him. Finally, Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed before him. "And what were all the flocks and herds I met as I came?" Esau asked. Jacob replied, "They are a gift, my lord, to ensure your friendship." "My brother, I have plenty," Esau answered. "Keep what you have for yourself." But Jacob insisted, "No, if I have found favor with you, please accept this gift from me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the face of God. Please take this gift I have brought for you, for God has been very gracious to me. I have more than enough." And Jacob insisted. Esau finally accepted the gift. "Well," Esau said, "let's be going. I will lead the way."
Amazingly, Esau didn't let years of separation from his brother fill him up with hatred and anger. Instead, Esau wanted to have a relationship with Jacob again. But Jacob and Esau's conversation could have gone very differently. It makes sense that Jacob was afraid to meet Esau. He was probably ashamed to admit he was wrong in what he had done. But he also was afraid that Esau might retaliate. Esau could have screamed at Jacob, attacked him, or even killed him. And would have been understandable, right? Jacob has stolen so much from Esau and never made it right. But again, against all odds, Esau didn't show up to kill Jacob. He showed up with open arms, ready to have a conversation with Esau, willing to have a conversation with Jacob. even after Jacob did what he did to him. It's pretty amazing. And it was absolutely essential to healing their relationship. Once again, even in this family, you can tell that having tough conversations are very important. Now we're going to jump to Matthew 18 and read the last two lines here. This is going to be 15 to 17.
All right. You want me to read?
Yep.
All right. If another believer sins against you, go privately and point out the offense. If the other person listens and confesses it, you have won that person back. But if you are unsuccessful, take one or two others with you and go back again, so that everything you say may be confirmed by 2 or 3 witnesses. If the person still refuses to listen, take your case to the church. Then if he or she won't accept the church's decision, treat that person as a pagan or a corrupt tax collector.
Even many years after Jacob and Esau reconciled, Jesus preached a sermon to a group of his followers. Part of the sermon was dealing with tough conversations. God loves to see us living in peace with each other, but not a fake peace where we smile at each other, but secretly hate each other. Like we learned 2 weeks ago when we read the story of Adam and Eve. God designed us to be in a relationship with God and with each other. Even if we refuse to have tough conversations with each other, it separates us from each other when we don't. And when we hang on to our bitterness and anger, it keeps us from having close relationships with God too. Throughout this series, we've been saying the same thing. If you want God to use your family to do atypical things, sometimes you have to be the first person in your family to do something atypical. That's what Esau did. And it's what Jesus teaches us to do. When you've hurt or been hurt by someone in your family, the typical response is staying angry, avoiding each other, and getting bitter. But Esau chose to do the atypical thing. He met with Jacob and he had a tough conversation. It might seem simple, but it's so atypical. Guys, as we go out throughout this week, remember it is not easy being atypical and being different or even letting go of that anger. Anger is something easy to hold on to, but sometimes that tough conversation is impactful, not only for you, but for the person that you have to have that conversation with. Having tough conversation with family members don't have to be complicated. I was hoping he would say something.
Man, what do you want me to say?
Anything. Oh. It could be as simple as asking.
Being patient when they share their feelings and perspective.
Really listening to their point of view.
Being honest about what you think and feel, even when it's hard.
Go ahead and read the next one too.
And admitting when you're wrong. Because, we can't do that.
He never admits when he's wrong.
Because I don't know when I'm wrong.
Yes, he does. Valuing your relationship is more valuing your relationship more than being right. Think right now about how conflict you have with your family members. Now imagine that conflict being transformed into where if you were willing to have a tough conversation with it. All right, guys. Really excited about opening up this week and seeing some of you again. Wish you the best. Can't wait to actually hug you without worrying about COVID-19. And this is today's edition of COVID Free Connect. Have a great day, guys.
Have a good one.
We love you.